What's up, geeks? Welcome to Investigation Check, our regular irregular interview show where we dive into the lives of geeky creators to learn about their hobbies, passions, and the untold stories behind our favorite content. I'm your host, Joe, and I'm thrilled to have you join me on this quest. Tonight, we have recovering academic, also known as Forrest, Critical Role cosplay connoisseur, TikTok creator, and just all-around amazing human being. Hello, Forrest. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me. So first off, for the people who don't know you, where can everyone find you?
All right, so on TikTok, I am recovering academic, and on Instagram, I am recovering.academic.
Someone got to it before you?
There's a lot of us out there who are recovering from academia, I suppose.
So before I even get started, where does the recovering academic kind of come from?
Yeah, I think that's kind of like my content creator origin story. So I think that's kind of a great first question.
Okay.
So whenever I started to do content, it was kind of a way for me to get my mind off of like a big transition in my life, and that was leaving my PhD program. So I was in a PhD program from 2015 to 2020, and the 2020 part is important because, as you can imagine, a lot
Did
of
something
change
important
and
happen then?
yeah, a lot of change and shit was going on. So a big change in my life is that I was just waist deep in doing a dissertation that was focused on death. And 2020
Okay.
happened, and I just realized I don't want my entire life, my entire like brain synapse to be like just taken up with like death and thinking
Yeah.
about death all the time because it was literally all around me. So I thought I need to change my life. I pivoted, left academia, said I only have a chapter left in my dissertation, but I'm not finishing. It's not worth it.
Wow.
The stress and like the like kind of impending depression was something I didn't really want to go through anymore. So whenever I pivoted, I had a lot of time on my hands, and I just said like the one thing that if I had more time that I would want to do would be to cosplay and to like connect more with other people doing cosplay. So it's kind of like an awkward transition where I was like, I don't know exactly what I'm doing, but I'm a recovering academic and I'm gonna figure it out. Because that's kind of the thing I know how to do the most is just to figure shit out. So
All right.
yeah, that's kind of the recovering academic.
Okay. We're going to get back to this, but I want to start back at the very beginning. What was like your first introduction into the geek space? Like, did it start with TV, movies, a book? What kind of like was your first taste of this universe that you were like, I love this?
Yeah, I think for myself, an entry point for me was always reading. I
Mhm.
always had my nose in a book as a kid. And I really, really loved thrillers and fantasies. And even as like a really young kid, like first or second grade, I was like reading the monster books and stuff like that. And then I think what really solidified me as a geek is the day I came to school after the Teen Titans premiere in sixth grade and thought everyone else must have watched it because it was the coolest freaking thing I had ever seen, and no one knew what I was talking about. And I was like, wait, no one else watched this like we're teenage like I'm in sixth grade, we're teenagers and this is teen superheroes, it's the coolest thing ever. And then from there, I was always reading, and then I got into comic books, and it's just always been kind of nerd culture from there for me.
Do you remember what your first comic book was?
um I remember my first comic book was actually a compendium of all of the Flash comic books.
Okay.
So it was like I always really liked the Flash because of the humor aspect of it. And then being named Forrest, I was always like told run, Forrest, run growing up. And
Okay.
even though it was always like something that people kind of made fun of me for, I was like, honestly, I wish I could run. Like, I wish I was fast because I'm not. So the Flash had like this, I don't know, just outgoing quality about him, and was just like super adaptive and flexible and also fast. It was like everything I wanted to be in life. Like a timid, shy girl, like the Flash was a hero for me. So
Yeah.
my parents got me like the whole collection. And that was like, he was my guy growing up.
Did you watch the Flash TV show a couple years ago?
I think I got through a couple seasons of
Uh,
it.
just
Yeah,
wasn't
and
it.
then all the crossover stuff started to happen, and it's one of those things where it's like eventually you get a media overload.
Yeah.
So I kind of stepped back and stuck with the comic books.
Okay. So what point do we go from reading comics, reading books, and kind of enjoying this part of the fandom to kind of switching over to tabletop games? And what was your first kind of introduction to that space?
Yeah, my first introduction was in grad school. Grad school for me, I was in like kind of a liberal arts kind of program. And surprise, surprise, almost everyone there's a nerd with a special
Oh, wow.
interest. Yeah. So it's like we all kind of chased our special interest to like the nth degree to be like, I'm gonna do research on it and like that kind of thing. So there was other people in my program and in other programs that were super interested in TTRPGs. My first introduction to it was probably with the wrong people.
Okay.
I watched them play, I think like 10 or 15 minutes of a game one time. It was D&D. And I remember there being like talk of like, trying to seduce the lady dwarf or if they wanted to seduce her or kill her. And I was just like, I don't understand the point of this. It sounds like you're either really horny or really bloodthirsty. And I don't know if I vibe
It's
with
a weird
either
space
one
to
of
be in
those.
here.
Yeah, and then I was talking about that first experience with another person, probably like pretty deep into our cups at a bar one night, and he was just like, "Wait a second, that's what you think D&D is?" And I was
Right.
like, "I mean, that's what I've seen. That's what I've seen played." And they were like, "No, no, no. This is about telling a story together. This is about building connections with other people. This is about exploring different facets of your personality." And the way that he like spun this tale of what D&D was meant to be really perked my interest.
Yeah.
And then right after that, I had another friend be like, "Oh, you are actually interested in playing. You know what you should do? You should watch Critical Role. They actually have their finale of their first campaign in like 2 days. Do you want to just watch that and check it out?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure."
Jesus.
So I dove into Critical Role on the finale of Vox Machina.
Great starting point.
Great starting
Not
point.
emotionally
And I was
abusive at
like,
all.
I would not recommend it, but man, like even the finale, I was just like, people care a lot about these characters. This is like hundreds of episodes in. I have no idea what's going on or like how these people are connected or why this gnome is crying and the guy in the upper corner is crying and why the guy ran away with like the special token at the end. Like I had all of these questions, but I was like, I'm hooked because all of these people are so invested and
Yeah.
they're like crying because of their victory and crying because of this other defeat that they felt internally. So I was just like, I want to experience this firsthand. And that's like, it was just like a rabbit hole from there. So
Yeah.
now I'm rambling. I'm telling you like
No, Rambo,
the
this is your
in-depth
time, right?
backstory.
I want to hear all. Give me all the juicy deets.
Yeah. So I just got really lucky to be, I don't know, kind of pivoted away really fast from that first initial impression because that is like not what D&D has been to me and it's not what it's been to so many other people that I've gotten to connect with. So yeah, just really fortunate.
So, what point from watching that finale did you start to actually get to play in a game?
Yeah, so the person that told me to watch Critical Role, he checked in and he was like, "What did you think?" And I was like, "I actually thought that looked really fun." And he was like, "Oh, well, they're playing more. Like they're going to start up campaign 2. If you guys, me and my partner, if you guys keep watching, I want to start a game. So, in the next few months, whenever I get everything prepared, that could be fun."
Yeah.
And that's what ended up happening. I was like religiously into Critical Role after that. Like was so interested in kind of learning the game mechanics from that, but also the idea of like building a character was just of primary interest to me. So I was just instantly connected with a home group. And we all lived in the same building too. So it was a lot like
Nice and
friends
easy. Yeah.
where we could like kind of pop back and forth and play these like 10-hour sessions, all living in the same apartment building in Toronto. It was just idyllic for a few years.
Do you remember what your first character was?
Yeah. We played from level 1 to level 21.
Wow.
So we did the whole thing, the whole shebang. And she was a rogue who multi-classed into bard, and her name was Temperance. And I just went into it thinking like I want to play like the unmasked version of myself.
Yeah.
Like anything that comes to mind, I want to be able to say it. Anything that's like kooky crazy that I usually feel a little bit, on guard to say in front of other people where it's like filters are important. Um, that was my character. And we ended the campaign with her being just a beloved and like highly memorable bard. She achieved her dreams of like becoming famous and rich, but also like reconnecting with her family and all that. So it was a really great first character just to get to tell her story all the way through.
Yeah. I mean, going from level 1 to 21, that's impressive in and of itself. What kind of, like, having that be your first true experience, like obviously you've seen the negative part of D&D and we didn't really engage with that, but like this being your first true experience where you go from level 1 to 21 and get to tell this amazing story with your friends, how is that kind of like impacted the way you're approaching a table now? Like, because that's got to be a high bar to set.
Honestly, it was a really high bar, but it did show me that a lot of what I love about D&D is the chance to be like just a character. Like it was so fun showing up to the table and just getting to role play something that felt important to me.
Yeah.
Where I thought like this is a story I'm getting to tell. I'm exploring different types of my personality trait that I had a hard time unlocking for a really long time. And just seeing like my own personal growth from those experiences and getting closer to people around me. It set the bar high, but at the same time, it just kind of like unlocked this door where I was like, I want to do this with more people. Especially because, I mean, I moved like across the country during that time too, where I moved from Toronto to Tennessee. And all of a sudden I was like, I want to be able to connect to people more. I want to be able to do that. And the best way that I know how right now is through games. So that's, again, another part of like why I started doing content creation was I wanted to connect with people that were interested in the things that I was, where I wasn't able to really find that in my immediate community surrounding me, but that's what the internet's for. Yeah.
That's what I was
So
gonna
it's at a
ask.
high bar, but it showed me the good side of it too, and I was just able to keep pursuing that.
So that's what I want to ask then. At what point do we transition from this home game where you get to have this, tell this amazing story, into kind of doing the actual play side of things, doing the TikTok side of things? What kind of comes first here, the chicken or the egg? Did you start with the APs or start with the TikToks? What happened there?
Yeah, my initial trajectory was home game, doing my like watching my program, which was Critical Role every Thursday at 10. No matter what was going on, I was like, sorry gang, I gotta go home and watch my program. Like Critical Role comes first. Like I'm 50 getting home to watch Price is Right or something, or Jeopardy. But yeah, the home game came first. And then from there, it was just sort of like, okay, I want to cosplay these characters. I love these characters so much. And I saw these people beginning to cosplay, like Vox Machina and Mighty Nine on Instagram and TikTok. And I thought I want to be a part of that. And then from there, just putting myself out there, I just started connecting with people just in that organic way that happens. So I was fortunate enough to get connected with people that wanted to play games too. I mean, I wanted to cosplay, but I was like, I want to get to know people. Can we like play together? So that's kind of like the different steps of the journey that happened. And now I'm kind of in this space just hoping I always have time for more games. But as you know, with adulthood, that can be hard.
It's
so
hard.
yeah.
So when you first started playing games online, was it actually in the production side of things, doing APs, or were you just doing like offline online games, if that makes sense? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I first started playing games offline. I think that was probably the best entry point for me because I don't really have like a performance background or like theater background or anything like that. And I mean, girl gets nervous. So it was really great, I think, just to kind of see like what's it like to play with strangers on the internet and kind of get to know people that way without the pressure of there being an audience. And then from there, I was able to kind of move into the AP space once I had a little bit of trust. I learned about safety tools and that kind of thing. So, yeah, I mean, I think for a lot of people, it might be really scary to think about going from a home game to an AP, even if it's something that you dream about, or you think like, I want to do something like that too. And for me, it was just kind of getting into that space where you kind of learn what it's like to play in the moment with people online, before you hit the like stream button.
Yeah. So, do you remember that first time you you were actually on an AP stream that it was, and maybe give it some insights to people that may be trying to jump into that space?
It was actually with one of my friends that I made through like Instagram, TikTok page. Uh, they run a channel called Pluto Cleric, and they invited me to play Call of Cthulhu for a Halloween one shot, and it was just such a blast. I had never played Call of Cthulhu before, but after that, I was also obsessed because you roll D100s and you never get to roll D100s.
Okay.
Yeah, so for me, it was like I already had like a good idea of like who this person is, and we had a session 0 where we were able to kind of like run through like the gameplay for people that hadn't played before, me, and then just kind of getting into like a little bit more of the ability to ask questions about like, well, what do we do if there's this, or how does this differ from D&D? So a lot of it was kind of born out of like knowing that there could be trust in the group, and that we were all kind of like going through it to tell a story and not be perfect. Yeah, so I feel like again I'm rambling,
No,
but
again, you can
honestly, like
ramble all
that
you
first, honestly, that first step of just being like, I just need a space with people that I trust and where we can kind of navigate this space together.
want.
Otherwise, I am just kind of alone in my room rolling dice.
Right.
Yeah.
So, when you're playing online, in this online disconnected space we kind of work in now, do you prefer the on-camera AP style, or do you find you enjoy it more when you're don't have the pressures of the camera there?
Enjoy both. I think it's kind of about who you're with, and really just the goal of the story that you're trying to tell. I've enjoyed a lot of the APs that I've played in, and it's because the people make it great. And usually, I get a chance to play offline with them too eventually. So I think it's just kind of like where's your brain space at? Like, what are you emotionally ready to like do and prepare yourself for? Because there is kind of a difference if you put yourself out there for a wider audience, or if you're, keeping it within your closed circle. But I think both have been just so enjoyable for me. So it's probably just more about like, just seasonal. Like how do you feel, and what are you wanting to do with your time and your energy?
Do you feel more of a pressure to tell a story in APs, or do you find that you're able to more freely express yourself in the storytelling and that sort of thing on offline?
I feel like with APs, most of the ones that I've done have been very one-shot oriented, again, because adult schedules.
Right.
I was a part of a campaign one time, and I did feel that pressure to be like, gotta put the note-taking cap on consistently, and not get lost in the moment, which, I mean, for a lot of us who have ADHD, that can be a little difficult sometimes. But yeah, I think the pressure can be there. I think it's just how you choose to feel it. But for myself, I just love role play. I love the opportunity to set people up to make a decision, or be put in a position where you get to grow as a character, or kind of reveal something about a backstory. So anything that is role play heavy makes me just so giddy, because as much as I love rolling dice, what I love more is whenever people like their jaws drop, or whenever they can't stop laughing, or if tears are shed. Like that's really the meat of the game for me.
So, kind of shifting a little bit here. I know you had said that you wanted to cosplay these characters that you saw in Critical Role, which actually, side question. Did you go back and rewatch season 1 before you started doing these costumes, the cosplays, or what? What is the timeline here?
I watched Critical Role season, or I guess campaign 1 and 2 at the same time. So
Okay.
I was watching campaign 2 as it released, and then in any other time just gobbling up episodes of Vox Machina. Like
Gotcha.
it was a speed run. I could not stop consuming this, but I feel like that's an experience a lot of people have. Like it's a slippery slope.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Now I got the timeline down. So
hmm
at what point did we start doing the TikTok content, doing the cosplays, and what was that kind of journey like for you?
Yeah, so let's see. It was probably around 2021 where I started like thinking about actually trying the cosplay and like putting that all together. And it took a long time for me to like actually post videos in cosplay because like comparison's a bitch. And all I thought was I don't have the resources or the skills to do what other people are doing out there. Like you see some of these cosplays and it's like, how in the world are they levitating? Is that glowing from inside? Like you just see all these amazing skills that people get to demonstrate and show. And I
Yeah.
just thought like, whenever I think of this, I think about trying to pull together stuff from my closet.
Right.
And eventually I just thought like, well, if that's what I have and I'm like just sitting on this cliff, I might as well just dive off.
hmm
So for me, it was I started with Keyleth because I had a red wig from a Halloween costume. I was Wendy from Gravity Falls. I had
Okay.
antlers that were from like a random Christmas party thing. And then I had a green dress. So I was like, this is it. Like,
I'll
I'm just
see
going to
any.
do it. And I'm just going to pull some of my favorite Keyleth quotes, Keyleth facts moments, do a couple like little meme ones and just have fun with it.
hmm
And it was really fun. And I used to do a lot of like video editing in high school and getting into the TikTok video editor. I was just like, damn, like things have come a long way. Like then from me trying to recreate like Avatar in 11th grade.
Okay.
So sorry. Like like Adobe, yeah, video editing was like a
Yeah.
huge thing whenever Avatar came out. So like, I don't know, I guess that's a part of the lore too. But getting into the TikTok editor, I was just like, I love how accessible this is. Like you can just get in and just make something so quick and so fast. And there's like no like export files, there's no like rendering or any of that
Mm.
shit that you have to like wait or go through. And there's also this ability to feel like if you were putting out something that was imperfect, it was just like, you know, it's TikTok. What do you
Right.
expect?
Right.
Or at least like that's where my mindset was at. I feel like maybe other people, you know, who wanted to make a living on it maybe had different
Oh,
standards for themselves.
going in way
But
different.
yeah, yeah. But for me, I was just like, whoa, okay, if I just use the tools at my disposal and I just literally use what I have, I can do this and it's actually really rewarding. So that's kind of like my first foray into it and thinking about like that going from just being a watcher of and lover of these characters to like actually cosplaying them.
So what's the time frame here? Like you're watching these videos, you're getting into TikTok. Where are we at like year wise for this? I know we said 2020 was kind of the time when you decided to leave school and get into the game. Where are we on the timeline?
So cosplay was probably early 2022.
Okay.
So it took a while to make the jump.
Yeah. And when did you start to see real traction in this cosplay space?
That's a good question. Honestly, I feel like traction probably looks or feels different for a
Right.
lot of people. But for myself, I feel like I got traction whenever I had people commenting and saying like, "This made my day. I look forward to your videos."
Yeah.
Or I remember one, I will say, I made a video trying to create like a thematic Percy DeRollo cocktail, and I had like a series where I was doing like making cocktails and cosplay, and Abria Iyengar commented on it, and I just thought like, this is amazing. I am a fangirl, and I had a fangirl moment, and it felt like that was also a traction moment where
Yeah.
it just felt like I'm in a circle where geeks that I look up to are seeing some of the stuff that I create. So
Yeah.
it was cool.
So where are you at now with that? Like you have 50,000 followers on TikTok by itself, right? And if my number is right.
30,000.
Oh, I thought it was, sorry.
That's okay.
Uh,
Numbers, man.
yeah, I'm bad with them. What is that like? What is it like existing in that space now where it's like you are at the top of a lot of this pile below you? Like, how is it? What is that view like from up there? How do you handle the pressures that come with that?
I think it's really hard for a lot of people, even with no matter your follower count, you're always kind of in that headspace where it's so tempting and so easy to start comparing yourself to others.
Right.
And it's also, I think, really tempting to start trying to just make content for the sake of content. I know for myself, that's like a space that I've been in recently where, especially like with amazing shows with new fandoms that have been coming out that I think like, oh, I want to cosplay from this. It's not always like in the budget. It's not always in the wheelhouse or,
Right.
it's maybe potentially just like a trend that could pass before you get in on it. And then maybe you would regret it just because maybe you weren't really that into it. You just wanted to kind of be like included in the fanfare at the very beginning of everything. Like I know for myself, like I had that moment with Has Been Hotel because I was obsessed with it. And I was like, I want to cosplay Lilith so badly.
Yeah.
And then I got really in my head about like, I need to like get this done now. Like I have to like reorient like my schedule and my current ideas that I have for TikTok that I have been working on and like go to this new shiny thing. And I just felt that pressure because I was like, it feels like my whole FYP right now has been, and I feel so left out. And it's just not something that you always have like the time for, the resources for, and the FOMO can be real. And then you start thinking like, or at least I start thinking, well, if I'm not always putting something new out, if I'm just cosplaying the same characters that I've always cosplayed, are people going to get bored? Are they still going to be happy to see my stuff? And then, the thing that I think a lot of people thinks is, would anyone notice if I like stopped posting?
Right.
Yeah, so it's like one of those interesting things where I'm like so happy and so grateful that I get to do something that brings me joy and helps me get my mind off of like shitty stuff. But at the same time, like it's kind of a double-edged sword. And I will also say, sometimes it really freaks me out to be like I just went to a 21 Pilots concert and I don't remember how many people were in the arena, but I was just like, if all 30,000 people were in here, it would look kind of like this. And it's weird to think about. But it's also really cool that I started this thinking, I just want to be able to connect with people who like what I like. And now I have those connections.
So what is it about cosplay that you kind of feel yourself drawn to that makes you want to inhabit these characters?
I think a lot of it is that I love playing dress up.
Okay.
I always have. I've always been someone that really loves dressing how I want to feel.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's certain characters where it's like I relate to them a lot. So I feel like kind of drawn to cosplay them, or there's others where it's like they're kick-ass and I want to be kick-ass. So there's, I guess, all kinds of different reasons. But for myself, it's like you play dress up and you get to kind of inhabit that other brain space for a little bit. And I kind of see it like how I see role playing in TTRPGs. Is that you just kind of get to play with these different aspects, different parts of your brain. And I think the other part is like the problem solving, where it's like, well, if I wanted to do like a Keyleth cosplay, how could I make that work with like limited resources or not giving in to like, I guess, fast fashion? Like how could I do something in a way that felt like it wasn't going to be for myself overly expensive on money and or time.
Right.
So it's kind of like a neat problem solving thing where it's like, okay, if I only have so much money and I also cannot sew, what are my options? So it's kind of fun to kind of like piece things together in a way that feels like solving a problem and like kind of creating my own little art.
Let me ask you this: what were you going for your master's for?
I went for my master's for
If you're comfortable.
humanities, and then my PhD was for comparative literature.
Okay. Do you feel like there's some connection there between you wanting to solve these cosplay problems and like be in this space and what you were going to school for? Like, I know they're not obviously, there's not a direct line between those, but do you feel like there's some sort of your desire to solve a problem here and dig into this subject, and now your hobbies trying to solve this problem and like using your mind to do this creative thing?
I think so. I think it kind of scratches that part of my brain that wants to find the right solution.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Especially like sometimes I feel like I think I heard Elizabeth Olsen say this recently. Sometimes whenever you are given limits, like if you are in a box, operating creatively inside that box is where sparks can really happen because you get that friction against
Right.
like the opposing forces or like the limitations around you. So I feel like that's probably a lot of that same dynamic where it's like, okay, you only can work within like this specific like time period, and you can only like figure out these resources because all you can read is English and you don't know French. And for cosplay, it's kind of the same thing where it's like, okay, like if I'm only shopping from my closet and or my local thrift store,
Mm-hmm.
how can I make this work?
Right.
Yeah.
What is it about the pressure that you enjoy, though? Like, is it?
Mm.
Yeah, I don't.
I think I honestly just like the creative prospects of
Yeah.
it. Plus, it feels so rewarding to finally get it to where you're happy with it.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like I know whenever I used to be like reading and writing and researching, a lot of it was like trying to get that turn of phrase where all of a sudden you would get the audience on your side, where it was like you're trying to make something like where every piece of evidence will lead up to this very poignant mountain and everyone will be able to see your viewpoint from that peak.
Mm-hmm.
And with cosplay, it's kind of the same rewarding factor where it's like if I'm patient enough and I like am doing the things that I feel like kind of work within my limitations, I get to the point where it feels like I have a cosplay that feels like me.
Okay.
And I'm proud of every single piece that I've kind of put together for it. So whether or not I, only wear it for 2 videos or for 5 videos or 10 or 20 or 40 like Keyleth, it's something where it just feels so inherently me. And like no one else is going to have like that version of the cosplay. So the reward aspect is still kind of there.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel a need to cosplay characters that you? I guess that's a silly question. That you kind of feel like a connection to, or do you? Is it something inside you that you want to portray, or is it something in that character that you want to bring onto yourself?
I think it's both.
Okay.
I really do. And there's some times where like playing Keyleth is almost too comfortable just because she's just awkward little leaf baby. And sometimes
Okay.
that feels like me. So, and then other times where I'm doing bow and I'm like, I feel like that it is hard to be hard ass. It is
Yeah.
it like doing bow is like I need to get better at this. Like I need to have like an intimidation face ready to go in my life. And for circumstances where it's necessary, and sometimes it's like being bow's good practice. I still don't know if I have the face. But at least I get to try, and
Yeah.
that's really fun to do something totally different than myself.
Do you think, like, when you're kind of dealing with some of these stressful situations, do you internally try to connect with these characters, or is it something that you kind of are just? Do you feel yourself integrating these characters' personality traits into your everyday life, or is it very much separate? Like, no, that's the cosplay character that I do. When I'm them, I'm exploring that personality inside me, or do you feel like you get to internalize that a little bit, and maybe that's kind of the reasons you choose them?
I think sometimes it is like that, especially with closet cosplay. Like I take a lot of things from my own closet and I can
Mhm.
wear them any day. So, I mean, a large part of it is that I like channeling those characters to either like get the vibe or sometimes it is like a little bit of a confidence boost. Or other times it's like just a little secret where it's like, I'm dressed as Bakugo today, and like 5% of the population knows it. So
Okay.
yeah, I really like the idea that I can take pieces of these characters with me, especially in areas of my life where maybe I feel like I need that comfort
Yeah.
or that encouragement.
So how much of like what your audience expects from you do you bring into these, like when your decisions to make a new cosplay? How much of what your audience expects from you do you bring into kind of alleviating those expectations?
I think what's hard is that sometimes I don't know what people are expecting.
Okay.
I think that's the hardest thing about content is that knowing your audience is sometimes a hit or miss. And I know for myself too, I don't really like to think about um, doing it for an audience more than doing it for myself
Okay.
because it started out kind of like that. I need to do something that's going to make me happy. That's going to give me a sense of like direction and help me do something that's going to challenge myself. I don't mean to say I don't think about the audience in a way that's like I don't care,
Right.
but
Right.
at the same time, it's like if I'm only thinking about what's going to connect, and then I have the only metric to go on is like view count, that can be like just so damaging, because at
Hmm.
some point you're at the whim of the algorithm.
Right.
So I like to keep things light. I like to keep things quirky, and then every now and then throw in like a gut punch. Like let's make something real sad today. Um, but I think that's something that I've been able to see the most is I get the point to connect with the audience mainly on like the characters or the love of the game of D&D or like TTRPGs in general.
Uh-huh.
And that for the most part, a lot of people are looking for something to smile about. So whether that's a memorable character moment or just a meme, like back and forth between two characters that they enjoy, or seeing uh, a weird little skit between D&D classes that perpetuate stereotypes. I don't know.
Fair enough.
I feel like there's always something that I can do to help make someone smile. And if most of the time if it makes me smile too, I'm probably hitting
On the
the
right
mark.
track. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how much of these cosplays do you bring when you go to con? Do you attend cons? Like, what is your con
Mm.
like? I know we've met at cons. Love meeting you. It was amazing. I've been a follower of you for a long time, so I was really excited to meet you at Gen Con. um, how much of con life do you try to do?
I've recently just gotten into cons. So Gen Con where we met was actually my third con.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and it was also, I think, my most extroverted con where I was there to like just get to meet people and connect with people.
Hmm.
And I'm sure you noticed, like, whenever we met, my eyes were like saucers. I was like, there's so much going on.
Yes, these were intense events.
Yeah, because it's true. There's so much going on. And I did not know that about cons, like just how busy they push you and that you feel this need to just like go, go, go. So for cons, my initial plan, the first con I went to, I was like, I want to do 2 cosplays a day. No. Um, oh no, 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 no. There's not enough
Strongly don't
caffeine in the
recommend.
world for that. Um, I think it's admirable for the people that are able to do that. But man, like there's this moment. Are you familiar with Howl's Moving Castle?
Yes.
You know that moment whenever the Witch of the Waste and Sophie are both like climbing up the steps to the palace,
Yes.
and the witch is like lagging behind and sweating. And she's like, I don't know how she has the energy for this. Like, I feel like that's me the third or fourth day at a con.
Yeah.
But my goal is to always bring cosplays that I'm excited to share or wear around other people. Like this year at Gen Con, I got to wear Shadowheart out in public for the first time. And that was
Uh-huh.
crazy because so many people, it was the first time I was approached as the character. It wasn't like, oh, your Shadowheart's really good. It was, you are Shadowheart. And a lot of people kind of acted like they knew me, which was a little bit different. And
Oh yeah.
at some points, a little bit weird. Just because it kind of took me off guard of like, whoa, I don't know you. But yeah, I like to kind of at least bring one that I'm excited about, and then bring at least 2 others that are like my bread and butter. They're usually like my comfortable ones, or they're ones that I feel like I'll be able to meet up with other people with. Like there's usually Critical Role meetups at these cons or other types of fandom meetups. So I like to be able to either wear something I enjoy or something that I know is going to help me like get out there and be extrovert.
Mm-hmm. Now, what about like OCs? Because I know you have a few OCs that you've kind of gone over throughout the years. Yes. What kind of inspires the OCs? Where do you draw inspiration from for those and stuff like that?
Yeah, I've recently developed like a new way of making OCs, but initially my first OC Temperance, it was just like I want to make like something that feels not like me. And then the more I played Temperance, the more I realized like, no, this is me. This is just the part of me I don't really get to show or tap into all that often. So after that, my next OC in the campaign that I'm playing right now with the same people, I kind of took on that same mindset where I was like, I want to tap into something where I don't really get to show this emotion, and sometimes I'm uncomfortable with that. So that was anger. And I like most of the time I have a lot of opinions and a lot of like choice words about things, but I keep them to myself. And I can get a little bit fiery. So I was like, I want to make this like Sun Soul barbarian monk who does not give a shit about what people think about her and is going to say what's on her mind no matter what. So it was kind of this like way of going through and kind of tapping into getting that emotion out and like trying to like make myself feel a little bit more comfortable with anger, and not have it feel like as damning of a trait. Like everyone should be allowed to feel anger as long as you don't like behave in a way that's like damning, you know?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where I didn't realize that side of myself was like so locked up until I actually like said, I want to try this. And it's been really great to be at a table where I know the people so well and we all trust each other, to kind of go into those uncomfy spaces. But the way I've been going into it lately is kind of different than that, where it's more of an exploration of grief.
Okay.
And I feel like this might be kind of weird to some people, but I've had a lot of loss in my life as of late. And I kind of started creating characters to memorialize aspects of people that I loved. I was like, I love, like, I lost a dog in 2022, and he was like my soul dog. Whenever I got my master's back in 2015, my partner was like, okay, we get rewards for getting our masters, and they can be big. What do you want? And I was like, I want a puppy. And he was like, well, I want an Xbox. So I got a puppy. We rescued him, and just a big ball of love and fluff, collie golden retriever mix, and just had just all of the emotional intelligence in the world. Just wanted to love and care and like herd, as the herding dogs usually do. And whenever I lost him, I actually was invited to a campaign like about a year later, and I was just like still thinking about Oliver so much, and I was like, I want to make a character that's like that, like that takes care of people, that wants to like, you know, make sure everyone's okay and is silly and goofy, but at the same time just has like a heart of gold, and is also very easily led. Like if you want to play a prank on someone, like she's probably going to be there. So it was kind of like a memorial of this dog that I just loved and lost. And then I'm also coming up on an AP that I'm going to be a part of, and the character I created for that is a memorial to I've lost 3 grandmothers. So it's like all these like grandmotherly type traits that I'm like trying to pull in from these 3 like inspirational women in my life to kind of put them into someone that is real and not like a stereotypical like elderly type figure. Especially, I mean, you're in the South now, you're in Tennessee, like there's just something extremely special about like a very strong Appalachian woman and like the wisdom that she carries and the demeanor that she has in her years, and her stature. So I really just wanted to have a moment to say like, I'm going to continue this trend of like kind of channeling that grief and loss into like a celebration of like the aspects I really loved about that person. Yeah.
So when you're and you can not answer these questions if it's uncomfortable. When you're taking these traits, do you almost feel like it's like you winding together is this wonderful like little package to kind of send off into the universe as like just a expression of your own creative love for this person?
I think so. I think it's like just a good reminder of like the impact that they had on my life
Hmm.
and like the good that they gave me that I want to keep putting out into the world.
Yeah. Um, I'm going to shift topics a little here
Mhm.
because I can't think of a good segue. um,
Okay.
I
Segue.
I know you have, like you already said, you adopted your dog from a shelter, and I know that's something you're really passionate about. Is you're wanting to work with these shelters and kind of, so what would you say is the ways that you've gone ahead and, first off, which shelters do you like to work with?
Um, there's a couple that I have my eye on right now. One is Wags and Walks Nashville. That's in Tennessee. They also have a branch in LA. And the other is the Asheville Humane Society.
And what is it about the, I guess, the adoption process that kind of pulls you so much to wanting to reach out? Because I know this is a very difficult situation for a lot of people, and it's an insane to kind of like just, there's so many dogs. How do you even get started with any of this?
I think a good way to get started is just to have awareness of like how many animals are out there that need adoption. Like it's so many. Um, and I never want to like enter into like the adopt don't shop kind of situation because every person has their own like unique needs as like a pet owner. But for myself, I've like seen the impact it had on my life to adopt a dog, and then my sister's dog actually came from Wags and Walks Nashville. So I've just been able to see like just whenever you adopt a dog, just how I think a lot of people are really intimidated by the mystery, like
Hmm.
not knowing the personality or I guess like the health or even sometimes the size of the dog
Yeah.
or even the age, because that can kind of be a mystery sometimes too. Um, but there's always that joy of like feeling like you're giving an animal a home. And I think the other thing is that a lot of these shelters, it's not just that they are, housing the animals. I know at least like Wags and Walk, a lot of them, a lot of their funds go to helping to foster the animals, and the foster homes are able to actually like help train the dogs.
Right.
So that way it's easier for them to transition into new homes. It makes a dog far more adoptable if they are trained and if they do have their shots and that kind of stuff. So a lot of the funds do go to like making sure that the dogs have that like ability to not go from like shelter to like home life immediately.
Right.
There's that transitionary phase that they kind of pour love into. And the other thing is that they rescue dogs that are in kind of like dire conditions. Um, it's not a great world whenever you start looking into like all the different ways that animals are abused, mistreated, or ignored. And just having people come in to say they want to rescue them and like help pay for those bills, I think is just amazing. Not only that, but they do a really great job on social media raising awareness for the dogs that have less of a adoptable scenario.
Hmm.
So it might be like if they have special needs or if they have physical disabilities, or even if they are a dog that just isn't getting a lot of applications or attention.
Right.
So I really love the work that they do and just raising awareness, and then also just really making sure that it's not just getting dogs into homes, but doing it with like really good intention and really good setup for success.
Yeah. Um, what would you like to do as far as trying to raise awareness for these sort of things? 'Cause I know it's tough to get out and do a lot of things. Like, what are some of the things that you would like to try and be a part of, and would recommend for people if they want to go ahead and be a part of these sort of things?
Yeah, I think the main thing is just to connect with local animal shelters.
Uh
So
huh.
Nashville is pretty close to me, so that's the one I like to support. And like I said, Asheville Humane Society with all the floods and stuff that Asheville just went through, supporting the local areas where you're able to kind of tap into that community, I think is just a really great way to show support and get involved. Sometimes it can be donating money, sometimes it can be donating time. Another thing is that you just kind of keep them on your radar. A lot of people end up looking for pets or, are trying to adopt themselves, and just being able to have those conversations with people as they come up to really know like the benefits of adopting, I think is just really impactful too. So for myself, that's something that I've been able to do just as like I make new friends, or, I've moved to a few different areas, and the more people I'm able just to be like, oh yeah, I love this like account, you should follow them too, or something like that. Even the domino effect can be really powerful sometimes.
Okay. Um, so shifting from that a little bit, is there any projects that you have coming up that you'd like to kind of talk about?
Yeah, I am in a podcast AP that's coming up. It is with The Heart is a Dungeon, which if you have not listened to The Heart is a Dungeon, it is just such a special podcast. Um, and I'm working on a project that's coming out with them in 2025 called What I'm Saving for Tomorrow. This is uh, the uh, OC that I was talking about. That's kind of like the amalgamation of grandmothers and that kind of thing. And essentially, like the premise is very much tied in that like nostalgia being attached to items or to things in your life, and kind of what you would save for tomorrow. So I think that it's going to be also really special. There's going to be a lot of really cool creators involved. I believe Ra already posted a little snippet about it on Instagram. But yeah, I'm really excited for that one. And just in terms of like upcoming projects, other than that, there's a couple that you and I have talked about that I want to solidify.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I definitely want to start taking part in more APs that kind of do have that like humanitarian association with them. I have a lot of friends in this space that have been able to do a lot of great fundraising initiatives for different causes, and I just find that so truly admirable. So it's definitely on my radar to like get more involved in those things as well, just because the world needs more good.
Yeah. Um, well, I mean, I think we're getting ready to wrap up here. Is there any kind of dream projects or people that you'd love to collaborate with that you haven't had the opportunity yet that you're looking forward to doing maybe possibly in the future?
I know for myself, I dream of going to Dragon Con. I want to go to Dragon Con so badly, just because that's like just a cosplay center.
Yeah.
Um, and for myself, I would say like I don't necessarily have dream collabs. It's just like a chance to really connect with mutuals. Like getting to see each other at Gen Con was really great.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think I was in cosplay anymore, but I
No.
think yeah,
I was
is the
Silas that night we met.
you were Silas, yeah, and I was just like, damn it, I should have kept my Bex on. So it's just like moments like that where it's like I just want to be as like open to possibilities of connecting with people as much as possible, and hopefully just get more involved at like the events that are coming up. I was so sad to miss Dragon Con this year, but like next year, I want to do it so bad. And there's a few creators out there who I really admire and I've gotten to meet at cons.
Yeah.
One is Rangers and Arrows.
Mhm.
Eileen, amazing Critical Role cosplay. There's another one, Andrea Towers. She wrote Geek Girls Don't Cry.
Mhm.
And I know that she does a lot of Critical Role cosplay too. So it's just like people that I really admire that I'm connected with, where I'm just like, oh, to hang out with you in person more would be so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, all right. I think that's all the questions I have for you, except for our last question, which is a question I ask every creator I get to have on this channel. What message or impact do you hope to leave through your content into the geek space?
That's a good one. I think if I had to like narrow it down, I think it would be that if you feel like you can't do something, just try.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because if I had stayed in the mindset of I can't do cosplay because I'm not as good as X, or I won't have as professional videos as Y, I would have never gotten started and my life would look totally different now. I'm sure I probably would have gotten involved in some other great hobby, but cosplay has been just an amazing fit for me. And if I had let myself not try,
Right.
none of this would have happened. So never tell yourself no.
All right. That's all the questions I have for you, but now it's your chance as the audience to go ahead and ask any questions you have for Forrest. Start getting those in the chat. We're going to switch over to the dicey question segment, so I hope you have your D20 ready for us.
I do. I have a few in case some betray me.
Fair enough. If you have any questions for Forrest, go ahead and start getting those in the chat. We're going to dive in. Go ahead and roll me a D20.
All right, who's first? Right. 18.
Okay. We've already kind of touched on this, which is amazing because I never get to ask this question. What is your favorite Studio Ghibli film?
Oh, it's probably Howl's Moving Castle.
Yeah.
But honestly, like I feel like that one's in like Hall of Fame, where it's like it's up here,
Yeah.
and I can probably have other tiers below it. After that, I think it would be when Marnie was there, which is not technically Studio Ghibli, but it's like it's in that it's like
Ghibli
in the same
vibe.
nest egg.
Yeah.
Yes. So good. Also a great story about grandmothers. Yeah. What's yours?
Princess Mononoke, obviously. I mean,
Princess
come on.
Mononoke. What do you think is the most underrated Ghibli movie?
Oh God, I can't remember its name right now. I don't know. I don't even know if it's underrated. It's the one about the little boy with his sister during the dropping of the A-bombs in Japan.
Oh, Fireflies? That one?
Yes. Amazing movie.
What's the actual name?
I don't.
It's something about
we're
Fireflies.
on the same page. Yes.
Yes.
Amazing movie. The visuals are gorgeous, and it's just such a strong message. That's probably my, like, not the big ones because there's Howls, there's Spirited Away, there's Princess Mononoke, but like that is one of those ones that's like a sleeper hit. I feel like.
I agree, and also just like tearjerker.
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah.
I love a good cry.
Yeah. I feel like Porco Rosso's kind of slept
Porco
on
Rosso,
too.
Yeah, that's another one.
That's another one. Mm-hmm.
What is it about Howls that you connect with so much that that's your top movie?
I really love Sophie's journey into self-confidence.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few protagonists across several different films that I related to for such a long time, and I didn't know why.
Right.
And I realized a lot of it was like feeling lost and not knowing how to like how to get yourself out of the dark. And a lot of the times it's like the people around you have to pull you out of the dark. And kind of being open to like opening your eyes. So for Sophie, I really like how the care that she put into other people kind of helped guide her to self-confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a desire to do a Sophie cosplay?
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. The long white braid is like the look I like. Man, I want to do a Sophie cosplay so badly. I also love her look at the end of the movie where she has her like short hair and she's in the yellow dress. I've thought about it so much.
What's holding you back from it?
Honestly, I think it's that I care about it so much. I want it to be perfect.
Yeah.
And so I have like so many notifications for different online thrift, like secondhand things where I'm looking for like Victorian blue short sleeve dress. Like I have all the keywords set like to have notifications, and I just haven't found the one yet.
I'm going to use a mirror right now and just kind of point it back at you. Just do it.
Oh no, my own advice against me.
All right. Go ahead and give me another D20 roll.
All right. Gonna do my Percy die. Another 18. Okay,
All right.
roll again. 12.
All right. Let's see here. If you had a spiritual weapon, what would it look like?
A tennis racket.
Why a tennis racket?
I was a really big tennis player. And I still kind of am, except for like the tennis shoulder is getting me a little bit these days. I love tennis, and for the most part, I'm a little bit of a jock. I love like hand-eye coordination type sports, and for the longest time, whenever I lived alone, I kept a tennis racket beside my bed, just in case.
You never know.
Which is like so stupid, but I was like, it's what I feel most comfortable with, so.
I'm gonna serve this motherfucker's head out.
So that I would be like really like serving up like radiant damage with my tennis racket.
Tennis racket. Love it. All right, give me another D20 roll.
All right. 5.
Okay. Favorite video game and most overrated video game.
Mm, I'm not gonna lie, I'm just super into Baldur's Gate. Like, I
Okay.
don't know what could top it for me. Um, Least favorite? I don't know if I have a least favorite. I know for myself, watching any of the Dark Souls games is a little hard, makes my stomach a little bit queasy, but I admire them. I really like the art, the storytelling, but man, does it turn my stomach.
I Dark Souls. Looks amazing. I do not have the time and or patience to play a Dark Souls game.
I think that's usually the consensus is you either have all the time to pour into it or you're like, I can't do it.
Can't do it. I die one time and lose a bunch of souls. I'm done. All right, give me one more d20 roll, then we're gonna jump over to our viewer questions.
All right, 17.
17. Default character on Mario Kart or Smash Bros.
Oh, okay. Smash Bros is Meta Knight.
Okay. Why Meta Knight? I need the deets.
I really like Meta Knight. I like how he can phase,
Okay.
but I love it's like something about the swishy sound of the sword flosses my brain. You know that like
Okay.
whoomp, 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 like it
The
is
fact that you just said flosses my brain gave me such a mental like vibration through my head. It made me so uncomfortable.
Sorry. That's Meta Knight though. Like whatever that little sound is when he swings his sword, it's just like ear to ear. Um and then let's see. I really like Shy Guy for Mario Kart, but I like the Shy Guy with the little black hoodie, like a little goth ghost.
Why?
I I don't know. It's just like I choose it for the aesthetic.
That cute little
And
goth bastard.
yeah, and I love the way that they do the animations where at the end you get to see the recaps, and whenever Shy Guy turns around, I just think it looks so sassy. Like if he does this little wave and like turn with this little wave. So it's so sassy and so cute.
All right, we're gonna dive into our viewer questions after the brain flossing.
Yeah.
This is from Damiano Danger Doodle. What is your favorite flower and dinosaur?
Ooh, let's see. Flower, I really like peonies.
Why?
They're just a fluffier rose.
Okay.
I just
Your
feel like
word
it's
descriptions are fucking amazing, by the way.
thank you.
This is wild. I've never had anyone describe these things to me like this. Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, think like if you want to make a rose better, give it
Fluffy
more
rose.
petals, and that's a peony.
I'm walking out of this conversation with brain floss and fluffy roses.
Yeah, yeah, can't complain.
Okay. All right. What about dinosaur?
The dinosaur. I've never really been all that into dinosaurs, but I will say, as a child, I wanted to be best friends with Littlefoot so bad.
Fair enough.
I just thought that's a stand-up guy. Yeah.
A little brontosaurus bastard.
Yep.
Fuck. What is it? What was it? The starleaf? What do they call it?
The tree stars
Tree stars.
with the little puddles of water in
Yes.
them.
God, I'm old enough for
You
that
can't
movie
make a salad that
not in
good.
movies.
Mm-mm.
All right. Cola May, which is CC on this channel, says, "Loved meeting you at Gen Con. What is your dream cosplay? No budget limits."
Oh my gosh, dream cosplay. Oh, that's a good one. Okay. The 20, I think it was 2020, Birds of Prey, Huntress.
Okay.
That is a dream cosplay for me. The way that she has like the cut out bra and then she also has like all of the chains hanging around her and she's awkward and badass and it's like that's everything. Like full character.
Yeah.
And it's also black and purple and I love black and purple. So yeah, it was great meeting you too, Cece.
She also wants to know, what is your favorite genre of music or band?
Favorite genre is probably like punk. But I also really like alternative and I like music that blends all genres, like a bunch of genres together. Like right now, I've been super into 21 Pilots. Like their new Clancy album has just been like on repeat for me. So I really like things that have that kind of ability to go cross genre, but especially if they have that like kind of punk center, that's my bread and butter. I feel like Fall Out Boy falls into that sometimes. Like they can have a little bit of ballad, a little bit of rock, but like punk's at the middle.
Okay. Well, that brings us to the end of the community questions. I've got nothing else for you, Forrest. This has been an amazing interview. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Go ahead and let everyone know where they can find you, where you're going to be at next, and I will post your socials in the chat.
All right, yeah. Again, I'm so glad we got to chat. This was so easy. Like you're a really great interviewer.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean it. But yeah, people can find me TikTok Recovering Academic or on Instagram recovering.academic. If you're looking to do anything with animal shelters, like I said, Asheville Humane Society needs a lot of help right now. And the next thing I have coming up is in 2025 as of right now, and it is with The Heart is a Dungeon. So give them a follow too. And yeah, I'm just so excited that we got to chat more, and hopefully we see each other at a con soon.
Yes. If you're not okay answering this, by all means, disregard. Are you going to PAX? You?
No, not this year.
Okay.
Not this year.
Okay.
I wish I was. I feel a little FOMO.
I will send you pictures and just make you feel even worse about it. Don't worry.
Good plan.
Rara Storytime in the chat right now says amazing Forrest. Paige also gave you a shout out earlier. I'm actually interviewing Paige in 2 weeks.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes, it's gonna be amazing.
Okay, I need to put that on my calendar.
Yes, it's gonna be amazing getting a chat with her and learn all about their geeky backstory. I've got nothing else for you tonight. If you have anything else,
I don't think so.
okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us for tonight's episode of Investigation Check. I've had such a great time getting to chat with you. You can catch me this Sunday on Records of the Realm, where I get to play that game. And no, I'm not asking your question, Cece. Cece wants to know if you can be friends with them.
Yeah.
You can also catch us Monday, where we come back with another episode of Forging Fates. If I have that right. Yes, Forging Fates. And then a week after that is Goodberry Cafe. I've got nothing else. If you've got nothing else, stick around for the raid. And remember, we love you, geeks. Good night.
Love Geeks.